It's mailbag time here on the Raiders Report. A friendly reminder that this video was recorded during our live Thursday night football program on October 16th, 2025. I typically like to do these mailbags where I look forward to the next Raiders matchup. Obviously, the Silver and Black play the Kansas City Chiefs, which we will be going live 1 hour before kickoff on Sunday with Wild 114 Mount Raidermore member. Make sure you're ready to get a little bit wild because I know this. He flew down here. He wants to get crazy, and I hope that you guys are ready to get crazy. So, first question coming in here from L.I. Raider. Any player-for-player swap you can see for Jacoby? I answered this one earlier on the live program, but I'll just keep saying it. If you're the Raiders and you are deciding to trade away Jacoby Myers, I hope that means that you're looking for draft capital. It's not that I don't think that there's good players out there that you could trade for, but moving on from Jacoby is a rebuild type of move. Let's rebuild properly then. Let's build in the draft. Let's stock up. Let's get ready to build, because when the Raiders hired Pete Carroll and John Spytek, I sat up here and I said their goal is to be Super Bowl champions by the year 2027. Their hope was that we would be okay this year, good next season, great in 2027. Trading away Jacoby Myers, you need a draft pick. I think that fits that plan a little bit better. Let's go to John. What's up, John? Should we see what we have with Pickett? I mean, I've thrown it out there before that at this point, it's like, what do you have to lose in Kenny Pickett? And I can't even believe that I'm even having these conversations because, again, I was a really, really big supporter of Geno Smith. But when you watch the film, when you look at the advanced analytics, all the things that I gave reasons to this offseason of why Geno's a good quarterback, all those reasons are why he's not a good quarterback right now. I don't know if he's just uncomfortable with Chip Kelly. I don't know if it's just like him going back to bad traits. I don't have the exact answer, but the Geno Smith that you see right now is a complete different Geno Smith. So, like, I wouldn't mind if they went to Pickett. I just don't think that Kenny Pickett is going to be in the cards, and I think at the absolute earliest they would go to him is Week 11 after a Thursday night football game against the Denver Broncos. Let's go to Silver and Blacked Out. Unless the Chiefs game is like 4 interceptions, then they might go to Kenny Pickett after the bye. Besides Jacoby, who else could be traded on the Raiders? So I've thrown out some names before on some other shows that I've done. I mean, to me, the top 5 players that you could see the Raiders move on from during the NFL trade deadline, Jacoby's one. I'll keep saying Dylan Parham would probably be number 2. Tyree Wilson I would throw in there at number 3. And in all honesty, like, those are the 3 players that I could see being the guys that end up moving on from. You'll say Maxx. I could say Malcolm Kuntz. But to me, Malcolm, Maxx, they're not going to go anywhere again. If Maxx is traded, it ain't happening until 2026, 2027. So I'll go with Dylan Parham. And I'll keep saying Dylan Parham because the Raiders signed Alex Kappa. They drafted Caleb Rogers. And there's always teams looking for interior offensive line depth, especially, teams that need extra depth overall on that O-line. And Parham's going to be a free agent next offseason. So my number 1 answer is Dylan Parham. I'll also say Tyree Wilson. Let me know down below, though, should the Raiders be buyers or sellers at the deadline? The NFL trade deadline is November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We will be live, I think a majority of that day on Tuesday leading up for the NFL trade deadline. Type B for buyers, type S for sellers. My answer is coming up here after this YouTube ad break. I think it's pretty obvious where the Raiders are leaning right now, and I would say that everybody down in the chat is typing that S for sellers, and that's what the Raiders are going to be. I don't think a 2-4 football team is going to be a buyer. Now, if they go out and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, that could change everything. And I literally think depending on what happens with the Raiders in that Chiefs game, if they win, I think you might want to type BS because you might be buying and selling. If you lose to the Chiefs, you're just selling. I can't think of an entire world where they are only buying at the trade deadline. Now, one of the cool things that we do here on the Raiders Report is anytime breaking news happens, we keep you up to date. And if the Raiders end up trading Jacoby Myers, I will be live on this channel. You can guarantee it. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on because this is the time of the year where I know that the Raiders are bad, and I know how frustrating it is. But at the exact same time, with the deadline right around the corner, you need to stay up to date on the rumors. You need to stay up to date with the news. And you need to stay up to date of what Pete Carroll and this regime is thinking about. So that way we know what players we can look at and rely on next season, the year after that. Even in a bad year, it's important to be subscribed to the Raiders Report. Let's go to S2 Iggy. How confident are you in Jack Bech if Jacoby gets traded? I mean, I'm long term, I think that Jack Bech can turn into a good receiver. He's a lot like Jacoby Myers, right? Like good blocker, not overly athletic. He's got good hands. You can see already that he's, kind of finding the sticks, able to move the sticks when targeted. I want to say every single one of his catches this season have resulted in a first down, or at least 80% of his catches. Scale of 1 to 10, I'll probably say a 4 or 5, but that's just because replacing a top 30 receiver, replacing a very good receiver in Jacoby Myers it's just simply not going to be an easy thing to do. What I'm hoping this means, though, Bech can block. Maybe Dante can stretch the field a little bit more, get some extra reps from those guys, and then just really try to open up the running game for Ashton Jeanty. Let's go to Joshua Garcia. Trade for Colts corner Juju Brents. I actually talked about Juju Brents very, very long ago. When I say very, very long ago, probably like 2 months ago on the Raiders Report, and he was a player that I said if I was the silver and black, I would pick up the phone and I'd go get him. I liked him a lot coming out of Kansas State. Fits that Pete Carroll mold of a corner, long, lanky, very athletic. Some people thought that he could play in the nickel. He wanted to try to play on the outside. So, I do think there's a lot of versatility there. I think Juju Brent is an interesting name, but I'll keep on throwing out the name Tariq Woolen as being the most likely trade candidate for the silver and black if they go out and look for a corner. We got more questions coming up here in just a moment on today's mailbag. Before we get into it, though, today's show sponsored by Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, and I don't want you to miss the excitement on Prize Picks where it's good to be right. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. Prize Picks the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds to turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And if you're like, Mitch, do you got a lineup for Raiders Chiefs? I haven't made one yet. I will end up making one on game day. Though, for anybody out there that is a hoop head, we got all sorts of Prize Picks lineups. That's one of the things that I love about this time of the year. We got basketball, we got baseball, we got football, we got college football. So if you are a hoop head, if you're a seam head, if you're a sports junkie, Prize Picks is going to be for you. That link is down in the comments. It's down in the description of today's program. Let's go to Stabler for president. Do we have any interest in either Anthony Richardson or Justin Fields? I sure hope not, and the only reason why that I say that is because I don't think Anthony Richardson or Justin Fields are good quarterbacks. And, Richardson, he's dealing right now with an orbital issue. I actually believe that they put him on IR. I think he broke his orbital. It's like, obviously, the bone in your eye. So, he can't even play for 4 weeks at the absolute minimum. Justin Fields, I don't know if y'all have seen how bad the New York Jets offense is. There's a reason why they don't have a single win yet. Fields is an unbelievable athlete, but he just can't throw a football. So, I would just say at this point, the Raiders traded for Kenny Pickett. Aiden O'Connell will probably be back after the bye. Whether you dislike Geno Smith remains to be seen. But I would say all the quarterbacks that are on this roster will be the only quarterbacks on this roster. Let's go to Live for Life. What's up, dude? If Jacoby is traded, which wide receiver gets the biggest fantasy boost? It's got to be Trey Tucker, no? Trey Tucker's already been that main guy. He's in the 3rd year of his career. I said that I thought Trey was going to have a breakout year this season. Obviously I was expecting Geno to do a little bit more. I was obviously also expecting, Jacoby Myers to be a part of this equation. But Trey Tucker's got to be the dude that gets the biggest boost overall. I'll say, though, Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is going to get a boost as well this week. Let's go to Johnny Suzuki. What's the game plan, in your opinion, for the return of Rashid Rice? I hope it's that we get out of cover 3 so much. I hope that we get into more sub packages. I hope that we're able to roll with more nickel looks. Here's the thing. He's going to be their #1 guy. they're going to get him involved in the middle of the field. And where the Raiders really struggle is their linebackers struggle to cover, their safeties struggle to cover, their corners struggle to cover. They struggle covering all in the middle of the field. And that's kind of where Kansas City's bread and butter is. If it was up to me, if I was the Raiders, I know that we are not good enough to match up against the Chiefs on the field. And I know that we're not good enough to match up with Kansas City in terms of coaching either. If I'm the Raiders, I'm just going to try to be physical, because if you look at it on paper, there's no chance the Raiders have to win. But the way that the Raiders won on Christmas was they were physical, they were aggressive, they swung for home runs, and they hit them. And that's how you're going to have to beat Kansas City. Swing for some home runs, get physical, and I would try to get physical with Rashid Rice. What's up, Cros? If we have a top 10 pick, I don't even think it's if, I think it's a when, and there's no generational talent on offensive line, who would we draft, Jeremiah Smith or maybe a corner? So Jeremiah Smith isn't eligible until 2027. I know he's Geno Smith's cousin, but I'll be real. I think at this point I'm hoping that Geno ain't on this team by that point. There's a lot of really good prospects. The other day I saw a PFF mock draft, and had the Raiders drafting a linebacker. If the Raiders draft a linebacker in this next year's draft, I'm going to scream my flipping head off. I just think that you got to go based on need. You got to go based on best player available. It still has remained to be seen. It's going to be an entirely long draft process. We know that, but you need help on offensive line. You need help in the trenches. You need help at corner. You need help at safety. You need help just about 4, 5, 6 different areas. So when we start doing our homework a little bit more, then we'll go to that. Stuck guy. Who is our number one receiver for Sunday, Tucker or Mayer? It's going to be Trey Tucker. Yeah, Brock's not going to play in this game. They're going to rest him. He'll be back week 9 up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I would anticipate it's going to be Trey Tucker. I would anticipate Michael Mayer. Both these guys are probably going to get somewhere in that 7 to 8 target range. I would expect Jack Besh, Dante Thornton to get a little bit of extra work, but another dude who could be a very sneaky guy, somebody that I will look for on Prize Picks. I don't think he'll be on Prize Picks, but absolutely somebody that I'm looking for, Alex Bachman, because I do think Alex Bachman is somebody that this team does trust. And because Jacoby is a slot guy, I do think that you could see a little bit more of Bachman getting some work in the slot this upcoming week. Paul, you're next up here on the show. Are the Raiders trading for Arizona quarterback Kyler Murray? No. Jacoby Brissett? No. No trades for the Raiders at QB. And I know a lot of people want the Raiders to trade for Shador. The Raiders aren't trading for a quarterback. They already traded for 2. And those are going to be the guys they roll with. What up, King Shab? Can the Las Vegas Raiders trade for Geno Smith for Shador Sanders? No. If I'm not kidding you when I say that, if you offer the Browns straight up Geno for Shador, they'd laugh at you in your face. So would Pete, right? Like Pete don't want to trade him. The reason why the Raiders passed on Shador. I know that he's a polarizing player. If it was up to me, selfishly, if the Raiders traded for Shador, I'd be happy about it. Not because I think he's going to help us win games, but because I think it's going to put more money in my pocket, more eyeballs on my YouTube channel, right? More eyeballs on the Raiders report. But will the Raiders actually do this? No. And I think anybody that thinks this, I think that there is a better chance that aliens land on Earth than the Raiders trading for Shador Sanders as long as Geno Smith's the quarterback, if I'm being honest with you. Stabler, what playoff caliber team needs an edge the most, and what could we realistically get for Maxx? Like, to me, if you're trading away Maxx Crosby, it's got to start with 2 first-round picks. And if you don't get 2 first-round picks for Maxx, I think shame on you as an organization, because his contract is favorable enough where he's good enough that you should get 2 first-round picks for him. In terms of which teams do I think need an edge, I know that the Bears need a lot of defensive line. The Philadelphia Eagles are super desperate right now, being able to get extra talent to be able to get after the quarterback. And, I look at a team like the Buffalo Bills. I look at any team that has not been able to get over the hump and knows that they're going to have to be able to get after a quarterback. Again, any team, any NFL team that thinks that they're going to make the playoffs, edge rushers are very, very important. But Maxx, I would say at least 2 first-round picks. Again, look at that contract. It's very, very, very favorable contract. What's up, Richard? What do you think about McClendon Curtis starting on Sunday since he was signed to the practice squad? I don't think that he should start, but this is actually another reason why earlier in the show I was asked, are there any other players that the Raiders could potentially move on from? I did not mention McClendon Curtis, but that's another reason right there why Dylan Parham could end up getting moved on from. I liked McClendon when he was first coming out of college. He was a UDFA for the Raiders. He was actually, I want to say that year, he might have been my highest graded UDFA player that we brought in. But what's interesting is he played with the Seattle Seahawks for 2 seasons in 2023, 2024. He played in 5 games. So, like, that's a Pete Carroll guy. He offers you some help on the interior. So, if you were to trade away Dylan Parham, in my mind, you have a McClendon Curtis, you have an Alex Kappa, you have a Caleb Rogers, and I think that that's kind of the route that the Raiders would try to go. They would piece together all those pieces. But McClendon Curtis, I do have more confidence in him than Caleb Rogers right now, and I don't actually think it's all that close. What up, Arctic? What's up, Mitch? What do you think of Nick Harbor? I have not done any homework on any collegiate players, so if he's someone that's in college, I apologize because I haven't done any homework on him. Raider, will Jacoby play for the Raiders again? No. I am very confident in my mindset of he's just not going to play. And I know that there are 2 games until the NFL trade deadline, but when a player like Jacoby, who's done everything right, and I mean everything right this entire offseason, even when he said, hey, I want to be traded, he was out at the practice field later on in that week. I think because of all the trade rumors that are going on right now, and because he is healthy and he's just deciding not to practice on his own, that's him and his agent making the decision of we're not going to play for the Raiders because we don't want to risk injury, and we want to be on a new team that gives us a contract, that values us as a player. And also, you know, you could look at it, if he doesn't get a new contract, it's what team could I have a good year? That way when I hit the open market in 2026, I get paid a lot of money. But I'll say this right now, Jacoby Myers will never play another game for the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you're hoping that he's there this Sunday, I'm hoping he's there this Sunday too, but I'm not going to get my hopes up too much. The Raiders will travel to Kansas City in a game that I know it seems unlikely, but I've been all week looking for stats, looking for things to give me, you know, just a little bit of hope. The thing that's giving me the hope right now, Clete Blakeman. He's the ref for Raiders Chiefs. In the last 2 games that he refereed for the Raiders and Chiefs were in Arrowhead. Those games, Raiders Christmas, we know how that one went. October 11th, 2020. We know how that one went. Anytime you talk refs, anytime you talk it around the Chiefs, usually it's not in the advantage of the Raiders. The ref in this game for Raiders Chiefs, 2-0 in Arrowhead for the silver and black. If that's not going to give you hope, I don't know what will. Even if you're like Mitch, I got no hope. It's Chiefs week. Get ready, pull up, give me an FKC down below, and win, lose, or tie, we're going to have a lot of fun on the Raiders Report. That I can guarantee you.